Santa Monica and Venice Beach are two of the most iconic coastal towns in the world. Most people visit for the sun and sand, but when you dig a bit deeper, you realize that this stretch of Southern California coastline is much more than palm trees and postcard views. From the indigenous peoples who thrived here for thousands of years to the gritty roots of modern skateboarding and beyond, let's go on a journey through the history and soul of the Westside. Welcome to Santa Monica, everyone! Today we're walking from here all the way down to Venice Beach, tracing the stories most visitors walk right past. For instance, did you know that the famous Santa Monica Pier wasn't actually built to be the entertainment hub it is today? It was built for something completely different. Comment below what you think it was, and I'll reveal the answer when we reach the pier later on the tour. Along the way, we'll grab some delicious food, keep our eyes peeled for coastal wildlife, and dive into the unique culture that makes this area so legendary. If you want to follow this exact route yourself, don't worry about taking notes. I've put together a full guide with every stop we're visiting today. You can find all the info on that in the description below. For now, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the walk. To kick things off, we need some fuel for the day. Let's head to a coffee shop housed in a landmark building that was the literal epicenter of the 1970s surf and skate revolution. We're entering an area historically known as Dogtown. This specific pocket of Santa Monica earned that name in the 1970s for being a bit rougher around the edges. This is Dogtown Coffee. The building itself is iconic. It used to house Jeff Ho surfboards and Zephyr Productions. This was the home base for the Z-Boys, a rebellious group of surfers who changed everything. During the 1970s California drought, they started sneaking into empty backyard swimming pools, taking the aggressive, fluid style of surfing and bringing it to the concrete. They weren't just hobbyists, they were an elite, incredibly hardworking team that birthed modern skateboarding as we know it. Dogtown Coffee is a must-visit for the history alone, but I also really enjoy the vibe here. They have a great selection of healthy, delicious food options, from vegan-friendly dishes to locally micro-roasted coffee. Just keep in mind that you are paying Westside prices. For me, getting to fuel up in a space that holds so much cultural significance made it the perfect start to the day. If you appreciate surf and skate history, this isn't just a coffee shop, it is a landmark. Just a few blocks away, we leave the city streets behind and enter Tongva Park. I was pleasantly surprised by how expansive this park is. It's beautifully landscaped with plenty of spots to sit and reflect, and it's a great example of how urban spaces can be transformed into something peaceful. Tongva Park honors a history much older than the city. The Tongva people, meaning people of the earth, thrived on this coast for nearly 10,000 years. They had a deep, sustainable relationship with the land and the sea. The area around present-day Santa Monica and beyond was part of a network of about 100 villages where the Tongva lived. But with the arrival of the Spanish colonizers in 1769, their world was systematically dismantled. They were displaced and stripped of their ancestral lands, suffering profound erasure. This park is an attempt at acknowledgement, a reminder that this soil holds a history that shouldn't be ignored. While the state of California recognized the Tongva in 1994, they still lack federal recognition today, meaning they don't have access to the same land rights or resources as other tribes. After all the suffering they've gone through, it's very sad and disappointing that the US federal government chooses to ignore the rights and the land that was taken from them. Right on the edge of the park sits Chez J. It looks unassuming, but this steakhouse has been a celebrity dive bar since 1959. It has hosted everyone from Marilyn Monroe to Henry Kissinger, a true Santa Monica institution. It's a sharp contrast to the ancient history of the park, but that's LA. Layers of stories stacked on top of each other. Now we're walking into the heart of downtown Santa Monica. First up, we have the metro station. I mention this because people always say, oh, you need a car in LA. But for just $1.75, you can get here from downtown LA or Hollywood without having to deal with traffic and parking. Just a few steps from the metro station is Santa Monica Place, an outdoor mall that's great if you need to shop, though it's noticeable that many storefronts are empty. Next, we cross the street into 3rd Street Promenade. This area has actually been a dedicated pedestrian zone since 1965. It went through a massive revitalization in the late 80s, and while it struggled post-pandemic, you can feel the revival happening. The street performers are back, new shops are moving in, and the city even introduced a sip and stroll program, letting you walk the blocks with a drink in hand, which is quite rare in the US. On my way to the beach and pier, I had to duck into Ye Olde King's Head. Since 1974, this has been the local headquarters for British expats and soccer fans. It's got that authentic dark wood pub vibe that's perfect to catch a Premier League match and take a break from the California sun. From there, we cross Ocean Avenue into Palisades Park. This is where you get those postcard views of the Santa Monica Pier, the ocean and beach, as well as the Pacific Coast Highway, also referred to as PCH and Highway 1. At 656 miles, it's the longest state route in California. This winding road along the coast takes you through the Palisades, into Malibu, and eventually all the way up to San Francisco and beyond. It's one of those quintessential American road trips that truly deserves a spot on your California bucket list. This park is also home to some very cute residents. And I really hope you're not falling asleep watching this video like this guy. These eastern fox squirrels aren't actually native to LA. They were introduced in 1904 at a veterans home nearby and have since taken over the Westside. Now let's walk onto the famous Santa Monica Pier. You've seen it in countless movies and TV shows, but as I hinted at earlier, its origins were anything but glamorous. In 1909, the original structure, the municipal pier, was built for one reason: to carry sewage pipes beyond the breakers. It was purely utilitarian. But at the same time, Santa Monica was exploding as a tourist destination. People were flocking here for the clean air and the ocean via Southern California mass transit system Pacific Electric Railway, which was actually the largest electric railway system in the world back in the 1920s. The city quickly realized that tourists wanted more than just a plumbing solution. In 1916, amusement park pioneers Charles Louf and his son Arthur built the adjoining Pleasure Pier to the south. Louf was a legend in the industry. He actually built the very first carousel at Coney Island in New York City. While most of the original rides are long gone, one icon remains: the Louf Hippodrome. Dating back to 1916, it's the oldest structure on the pier. As we continue along the pier, we see a popular photo spot, the Route 66 end of the trail sign. Now, a little bit of history. Technically, Route 66 officially ended a few blocks up at the intersection Olympic and Lincoln in Santa Monica. But for thousands of travelers making the 2,400-mile journey from Chicago, this is where they end the tour and take some photos. At the very end of the pier sits Maria Sol, a Mexican restaurant. This spot is special to me. Many years ago, when I first moved from Germany to LA, I had my very first meal right here. It was December, the sun was shining, and as I breathed in that fresh ocean air, while my friends back home were freezing, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The pier's modern era really began in 1996 with the opening of Pacific Park. It was the first major new attraction here since the 1930s. It's got that classic fairground energy, but with a modern twist. The Pacific Wheel is the world's first and only solar-powered Ferris wheel. It's a great example of the move towards sustainability that Santa Monica is known for. From the pier, we're heading south toward Venice. It's a scenic 30-minute walk, but if you want to save your legs, you can always hop on a bike or an e-scooter and take the trail along the beach, which locals simply call the Strand. Right at the base of the pier, we hit the original Muscle Beach. Most people associate that name with the heavy bodybuilding scene in Venice, but it actually started right here in the 1930s. Back then, it was the epicenter of the physical culture movement, focusing more on acrobatics and gymnastics rather than just lifting weights. By the 1950s, its fame was global, but eventually the serious lifting spotlight shifted down the coast to the famous weight pens of Venice. While Venice got the fame, Santa Monica keeps the origin story. About a mile further down, we arrive at a spot that's easy to miss if you aren't looking for it: the Inkwell. During the Jim Crow era, while California's beaches were technically public, many were effectively segregated through harassment. This small stretch of sand at Bay Street became a vital sanctuary for African American families, a place to build community and enjoy the ocean in an act of quiet defiance. Today, it stands as an essential reminder that even our most beautiful public spaces have a history of exclusion that we need to acknowledge and reflect upon. As we cross the border into Venice, the vibe shifts instantly. The polished, manicured feel of Santa Monica gives way to something much more raw. This is the Venice Boardwalk, a 3-mile sensory overload of artists, fortune tellers, and street performers. It's been a mecca for counterculture since the 1960s, a place where being different isn't just accepted, it's the whole point. After that walk in the sun, I needed a refresher, so I stopped at the waterfront. It's a local favorite right on the boardwalk, and there's nothing like a cold beer with a view of the Pacific to catch your second wind. As we head to the heart of the boardwalk, we see these concrete walls covered in layers of vibrant graffiti. These are the Venice art walls, the final remnants of the Venice Pavilion. Back in the 1980s and 90s, the Pavilion was a gritty, concrete amphitheater that served as the unofficial home for the neighborhood skaters and street artists. It was a legendary spot, but eventually it was torn down to make way for what stands here today. This is the Venice Skatepark. Opened in 2009 after years of tireless lobbying by the local community, it's a $2.4 million masterpiece. The design is a direct homage to the Dogtown era we talked about earlier, featuring sunken bowls that mimic the empty backyard swimming pools where modern skating was born. It's one of the few places on Earth where you'll see a 10-year-old prodigy dropping into a bowl right next to a pro or a local legend who's been riding these streets since the 70s. It's not just a park, it's a living, breathing monument to the culture that Venice exported to the rest of the world. Just a few blocks from the roar of the skate park, we turn onto Windward Avenue to find the Venice sign. While the current sign is a recreation from 2007, it's a tribute to the 1905 original that once greeted visitors arriving by steam train. It stands at the literal gateway to the neighborhood, marking the spot where the beach meets the city. Back on the boardwalk, we reach the world-famous Muscle Beach, Venice. This is the weight pen. Unlike the original acrobatic bars in Santa Monica, this is a serious working gym. It opened in 1951, and it's where bodybuilding legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger transformed the sport in the 60s and 70s. For about $10, you can actually buy a day pass, sign the waiver, and lift in the exact same spot where those bodybuilding legends built their physiques. Leaving the loud and vibrant boardwalk behind, we enter a completely different world, the Venice Canal Historic District. This is the oldest part of Venice, but it wasn't here by accident. In 1905, a tobacco millionaire named Abbot Kinney had a wild, audacious dream. He wanted to recreate the charm of Venice, Italy, right here in Southern California. He dug miles of canals to turn this marshland into a Venice of America. But as the car became king in the 1920s, most of the canals were filled in to build roads. This little neighborhood is all that's left, a quiet, beautiful ghost of that original vision. It's the perfect place for a peaceful stroll to see a side of Venice that most travelers miss. From the silence of the canals, we walk up to the street that bears the visionary's name, Abbot Kinney Boulevard. If the canals were Kinney's dream, this street is the modern reality. It's evolved from a quiet local road into one of the coolest streets in LA where boutique shops meet local surf and skate culture. For dinner, I headed to the Butcher's Daughter. It's my favorite spot for a healthy meal here in Venice. Fresh, plant-based, and the place has a cool ambiance as well. I went with their mushroom and quinoa burger, and it was the perfect way to refuel after a full day on my feet. As the day began to fade, I made my way back toward the boardwalk. If you happen to be here on a weekend, listen for the rhythm of the Venice drum circle, an unscripted, raw heartbeat of the community that's been a tradition for decades. I decided to walk back to Santa Monica right at the water's edge. First along the paved path, but I eventually stepped onto the sand to get closer to the water. As the sun dipped behind the pier, the Westside gave me one last show. Dozens of brown pelicans diving into the Pacific. These birds were nearly extinct in the 1970s, and it's beautiful to see that they are thriving today. Getting back to the pier, it felt like the perfect confirmation of what this journey was all about. So often people think you're trapped in a car when you visit Los Angeles, but as we saw today, the real soul of the West Side is best found on foot. When you slow down and leave the traffic behind, you find the layers of history and culture that make this stretch of coast so beautiful. Thanks for walking with me today. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button and don't forget to grab the full guide in the description. I'll see you on the next tour.